Medicine and peace be unto you all. Just for a little bit of history about these particular lands where we're at, Massachusetts in the Narragansett language means the land between the two rivers. Because if you look at the topography, you will see that there is the Mushasik and there is the Woonasquatucket. And this was the land in between. Traditionally, this was a land where many different nations would come down because it's right near the sea. It was said at the time when Roger Williams settled here that you could walk across the Mushasik River without touching the water because the quahogs were just that big and plentiful. This is also an interesting space because if you notice, there is a street over here named Waybasit, which in our language means the place of the crossing. And that's where they used to go in low tide. They would go across the river. And there's a very interesting narrative that is associated with this because at the time when Roger came into the area after he was kicked out of his own territory by the English colonists who didn't like all of his rabble-rousing, he befriended my grandfathers Canonicus and my Antinomi, but the Sagamores, or the sub-chiefs, weren't too happy with their English friends coming and messing around in their hunting grounds. So the historical record shows that the Sagamores from Nuddaconkinut, from Patuxet, and from Meshippog went to Canonicus and my Antinomi and basically told them, get your friend out of here before we get rid of him ourselves. So at the time, during this period, the lands, what we now call the east side of Providence, which are traditionally known as Mushasik, were contested territories between the Nanhiknuk and the Pokanoket. So my grandfathers, being very politically astute, said, how do we keep this Englishman close enough where we can continue to trade with him and continue to have good relations with him, but far enough away so that our Sagamores don't revolt against us and cause problems in the nation? And it said that my Antinomi took Roger up to the top of Nuddaconkinut Hill, spread out his arms like this, told him, you can use all of that land over there. If you go up there to the point, which is about half a mile from where I live, I go up there pretty often, and you look right down the middle of that, you will see the Rhode Island State House. And of course, right on the other side of the State House is Mushasik, where Roger Williams settled. So basically, he sent him back over into Pokanoket territory because it wasn't Narragansett, but it was still close enough where he could have relationships with them. So that is so instrumental because when you do the history, you find that a large part of the reason that the Pokanoket, the Massasoit, signed the first peace treaty with the Pilgrims was because he was fighting with my people, the Narragansetts, and he viewed a relationship with the English as a way to fortify himself and perhaps get back some of the land and some of the power that he had lost when the Great Dying passed through and he lost so many of his warriors. So this particular land space right here is very intimately tied to American history, to the American experience, but very specific to quote-unquote Indian politics. And I always like to share, because there's this very popular narrative that the Indians were all savages. No, very politically astute. What we find is that it was never really a thing of just English dominance. It was very much the English playing the nations against each other because of the ongoing political rivalries that were there, to the ultimate detriment of the nations when they ended up losing the King Philip's War. So, welcome to Massachusetts. And with that being said, it is now my great honor and pleasure to invite up Dr. Silas Pinto with our first presentation of the day.